Hey, we're back with another episode of Go FUD Yourself. It is Thursday, which means Kiara's excited.
I am excited.
Crypto arms race, vroom vroom, car, our little briefs that we get from our production guys. It said something car, vroom vroom. And I was like, car? Like what?
Crypto arms race.
I get it now. It took me a good couple of minutes, though, to catch on. Anyways, lots of excitement going on. SBF was all over the news.
We're not talking about that today.
No, we're not.
I get 1 day free of Binance and SBF every week.
This is usually it. But yeah, I mean, unless you're living under a rock, you've probably seen some photos and videos of SBF looking awkward in court. I hope he feels as awkward as he looked. And that's all I have to say about that. Sorry?
Did you go buy the book?
No, I didn't. I didn't even leave my house.
Oh, well, there you
go.
It's not the choice of working from home in crypto.
I've left my house in like 3 or 4 days.
It's episode 165 today. Are we going to do something special for 169?
Pretty sure I graduated high school like a couple decades ago.
Okay, Mr. Hump Day.
I am Hump Day, Titty Tuesday.
Yeah, you're not going to do anything for episode 169. That's where you draw the line.
I'm way too cool for 169. No, I actually thought we had to be over that by now.
No,
I thought we were pushing 200. We'll see.
Okay.
I don't do any of the planning. All the smart shit comes from you guys. So if you come up with something interesting, let's do it. Okay, what are we talking about today?
We have so much news. We actually have a 13-page brief, so there's no way we're getting through all of this. But I do know that we're going to talk about a couple of crypto tycoons and what they're doing. I sent some news over about Japan and how Japan is doing in crypto. They've got quite a few. They haven't really been on our radar lately, I think, because BRICS has been making so much noise. We're more or less avoiding BRICS other than Brazil today. We're going to go down to Australia. We're just sticking with all of the warm places. And then there's a couple of news articles that came out of Nigeria that I thought we should touch on, which leads us to some of the Africa Organization of Blockchain. I just forgot what they were called. Live. That's how you know we're live. And they have been putting out some publications, so we'll touch on that too.
Amazing. That's exciting. Quick reminder to everybody, we're a live show, Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
You can't tell.
Single day, if you can't tell. And also a quick shout out to our friends at Halborn. Halborn offers smart contract and protocol security. Great group. Love the shirt. Wish it was a hoodie. Maybe next year they'll give me a hoodie. North Face. You can make some crypto hoodies and hook me up. I'm a big fan. Anyways, we're on all the major venues. So like, share, subscribe, help us get the word out. Because, yeah, just trying to offer a service to the crypto space at large. Okay. I guess. What were you going to say?
I said that's what we're here for. I was successful in saying what I was saying.
Fine. All right. Well, let's fucking go then. So in my head, that sounds really, really good on Twitter Spaces. Apologies to anybody on Twitter Spaces. If you've watched the show before, then I guess you're used to it. But that is a little video that we play on the video version. We also stream this live video, so it's on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn. It's all over the place. Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, for the video version, we have a nice little video that plays with music and so on. And so we've come up with a Frankenstein way of getting it onto Spaces, but I don't know how well it works. So I apologize if it sounds crappy, but we're trying our best. Anyways, all right. So we get to start today talking about one of my favorites.
Yeah, you have a lot of opinions about this already somehow.
We could end on.
Has anyone been to the Yarwood homestead?
No, I don't think so. It's also like, if you look at it, it's so the reason, like, obviously in Singapore, land is very expensive. obviously. And so to own a single detached house like this with the size of plot that it has is where all the value comes from. If you see a photo of the house, you would spit out your coffee at what $36 million will get you in Singapore. It's kind of surprising. But anyways, a guy that I'm not a big fan of, Suzu, and of course Kyle Davies, which were the co-founders of 3 Arrows Capital, and they had a $10 billion hedge fund that lost 3.5 of said 10 billion, which is obnoxious. It's an incredible amount of money. And ever since then, the two of them have been thumbing their nose at lawmakers and a lot of their users. They had the balls to go and raise for a crypto exchange in the Middle East. I don't know how or why Sue went back to Singapore, but he did, and he got 4 months in prison, which is absurd. That $3.5 billion evaporates, and they get 4 months in prison. That's amazing. So it's not FU Friday today, but FU.
You could.
FU Suzu. So I guess now we can actually tell this story.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, his Suzu's wife owns a nonprofit, I think, called Abundant Cities. And so since Sue is in jail, and when he's not in jail, they're not going to live in Singapore.
Right.
But if they sell the house, I think all the money just goes to they can't. I don't think the courts can force them to sell their personal residence. So that's a way for them to keep an asset off the books, I guess. I'm not really sure, but anyways, they converted this whole property into like a eco farm. And what is it called? Yarwood Homestead.
Yarwood Homestead.
So now this beautiful plot of land, they turned the pool into like a pond or something, and
with natural aquatic life. Maybe they just stopped maintaining it. I think that's what that means.
They just let it buck and some.
They were like, that's fine.
Put up and some plants.
There's alligators in there now. It's natural. It's a reserve. It's a wildlife reserve.
Yeah, but apparently there's a bunch of gardens, vegetables, herbs, fruit, fish, poultry. It's crazy. It's like a full-on farm.
It's a venue for private gatherings, like most people's homes.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just think
they'll try to rent it out or something.
I'm so tired of hearing about these guys, honestly.
I know. People were excited though that he was found and caught and arrested. Like it was all over my LinkedIn with all my Singaporean crypto contacts.
I'm happy that he was found and caught and arrested too, but 4 months?
I know. Maybe it's just a holding 4 months. That's no way that's his whole sentence.
Well, it says. No.
Okay, well, also in Singapore, maybe slightly better news, is that Ripple has obtained a major payments institution license from Singapore and will now be operating there. I assume that this is also going to lead us to a CBDC from Singapore, but it's exciting to see Ripple continue.
Yeah. We've been talking about this forever. This is just more of the same, really. Yeah. Ripple is definitely making moves globally, partnering with a lot of governments, which, again, I don't mind from Ripple's perspective. I think they're pouncing on an opportunity in front of them, and I think it's incredible. What the flip side of that is, I think a lot of these countries, jurisdictions are looking at CBDCs, and I think Ripple's going to be the technology for it. Now, although I'm vehemently against CBDCs, I don't blame the people building the shovel for CBDCs because it's probably going to happen anyways. And so somebody might as well make money off it. At least it's a good steward of the space in Brad and team. But I don't know. I'm going to talk shit about CBDCs until I can't talk anymore, I'm sure. So.
In other news, Hong Kong is challenging China for the use of crypto, which is interesting because China has had $86.4 billion in trading volume over the past year, and Hong Kong is catching up to them at $64 billion in OTC trade.
Yeah, I think a big piece of that is there's been a big push in Hong Kong to regulate and make crypto viable. And so I think they've now come out and outwardly suggested that they encourage, crypto adoption and so on. China, as we've mentioned many, many times on the call, China FUD has been a thing since
Before I was born.
Mount Gox. Like it's been going back a long freaking time. So I mean, it kind of makes sense. I was talking to someone earlier this morning about Korea, and Korea in volumes is actually higher than China, also South Korea, which is interesting because there's a huge population differential there, obviously, and there's a big wealth gap. So it's interesting to see how some of these Asian markets are really just starting to explode, and it makes sense. And I've been saying this for a long time. As soon as you come out with some regulatory structure that people can like try to navigate, then you'll see a lot more user adoption and you'll see a lot more innovation. I mean, it's a tale as old as time. Well, maybe not time, but it's definitely an old tale. I just don't understand. I don't understand why we're dragging our feet.
No, it's exciting, I think, and we are seeing other, especially in the Asian nations, as we've reported on a few times, they're really blowing up. And one of the things that's interesting too is seeing the institutional space, right? So the reason that Hong Kong has been able to surge forward in that sheer dollar amount is that only 4% of their OTC trades are attributed to retail. So this is primarily institution, which is pretty big and cool. But the other country that we sometimes skip over because they're just not as loud about what's going on.
But I love sushi.
Is Japan.
It's lunchtime. It's lunchtime here, so this is making me hungry. Okay, fine. Go ahead. I'll shut up.
No, you go ahead. You tell us all about lunch.
No, it's all good because I just read Japan is emerging as a hot pot. I clearly am thinking food.
Hot
right
spot.
Okay, go ahead. Intro this one.
So their prime minister is actually fostering the crypto sector. They've relaxed a lot of their regulations. They've moved their tax reforms forward faster, and they're working on their stablecoin. They've already been issuing it and doing their test rallies, and they're expecting to formalize that in 2024. So it's a big support for the sector, which is basically the opposite of what we're seeing in America. Just a big, exciting thing to take note of and to not turn a blind eye to, I think.
Yeah, we talked about Japan a while back when they were piloting their CBDC and they had come out with some crypto-friendly regulation, so to speak. Japan's always kind of been up there relative to their population and GDP. They've been up there in terms of global capitalism and being involved in a lot of these tech sectors. So it's not surprising that they're taking this approach, but they've done a lot of things that I think are pretty interesting. They've allowed banks to issue stable coins. All of their regulated banks are able to do so. I think they've made the transition to start including blockchain technology and digital assets into their financial ecosystem pretty seamlessly. Like there's not a whole lot of friction.
They've done a great job.
Yeah. I mean, now my only criticism of this is it lends itself really well to the incumbents.
Of course.
So like the banks and the large institutions that are already established, which will always be the case. The incumbents always have an advantage to a certain extent. They have other disadvantages in the fact that they're not agile. It's very difficult for them to innovate in a meaningful, iterative way. And so, I mean, there's some advantages and disadvantages to being the big guys. But all of this to say, this is very positive. I think it's a good example for other jurisdictions to look at of what happens when you create friendly regulation. There's a sense that consumers are protected, while at the same time, there's a path forward for innovation and entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So what else is exciting here is that you will start getting foreign investment. So Arbitrum has now expanded to Japan. Right, which is not a surprise, but is exciting. And as we see more and more companies pull out of the Americas, they might be going to the Asias.
Yeah, I think there's a few ways to look at this. There's incorporating in Japan and like having your entity live there, which isn't what they're actually talking about here. What Arbitrum, I believe, is doing is they're just launching Arbitrum Japan, which is its own entity that then can have Japanese licenses and service Japanese users. And I think we saw that with Binance US. That's an attempt to try to abide by whatever rules there are. I think this makes perfect sense to me. We're going to see a lot more of this going forward. If we think about what global regulation looks like, unfortunately, there's no global cooperation in regulatory structures. So it's going to be very similar to what you see in other financial markets, where you pick a jurisdiction to be compliant in, you scale to a certain level there, and then you might pursue other jurisdictions. But this whole launch everywhere for everybody all at the same time, although that's a huge value add to innovation, it's probably incredibly unlikely in a regulated world. So we're going to see a lot more of this. I think this is great, to be honest. Seeing friendly jurisdictions and notable projects participating, I think it makes amazing sense.
Absolutely. Before we move on from Asia, because we are just kind of rolling through the world today, I do want to have a quick little what about Korea, because last week was 2 weeks ago was Korea Blockchain Week. I have no sense of time. I don't leave my home either. And we were really touting.
Like 3 or 4 weeks ago, but yeah.
Oh my God. We were really touting how excellent it was that Korea is doing this and how forward-thinking Korea is and how there's all these events happening in Korea. But they've also been facing quite a bit of scrutiny because South Korea is looking at stricter crypto regulations, which is not what people who were just at Korean Blockchain Week really want to hear. And in contrast, where Japanese banks have all of these abilities to issue stable coins and have legal permission, and they've all been onboarded, Korean firms are continuing to wait approval when they applied for that ability in June. So there are some economists who are saying the Koreans should focus on their domestic market, and tongue-in-cheek want to talk about K-pop. But I really liked seeing Korea look at this as innovation. I really liked seeing them look at the whole world and foreign investment and what that could do for them. So I'm disappointed to see the government is not supporting them.
Yeah, it's funny because we reported on some surveys and different things that came out of Korea during Korean Blockchain Week. And one of the prevailing, I think, themes was that, people were expecting more regulation and more consumer protections. So maybe the government just took that to an illogical end and said, oh, they want much stricter regulation. Well, again, looking at some of the other jurisdictions and how it's been done, some countries have made it friendly and easy, and some have made it very difficult. And the results, I think, are pretty self-explanatory in both scenarios. So if Korea is going to make it more difficult, then they're going to concede momentum to others.
For the record, Korea Blockchain Week was September 4th to 10th, and I should go out and see the sun more so I can count days.
Probably should. Okay, let's go to Australia. Forget Korea. I want to go.
Yeah, we're going to have a really quick stop in Australia, maybe just a layover. They have some legal things going on. So the Australia Senate Economics Legislation Committee has rejected the Digital Assets Market Regulation Bill of 2023. They want to continue consulting. This will probably slow down their CBDC. It also will slow down any stablecoin potential. And they have been cracking down on their crypto laws and crypto taxes as well. So not a great time for Australia crypto.
Yeah, I actually thought that we already knew this. This might be another bill that's been rejected, but we talked about a bill that was rejected in Australia, which was interesting because for like 10 minutes, they were like super excited.
They're doing so well.
Yeah, exploring crypto, and adoption was picking up, and we had on-ramps like crazy, and there's, we were starting to see a lot of collaboration between TradFi and blockchain. And then all of a sudden, they're like, whoa, pump the brakes. We're talking about CBDCs now, and we want to get.
But even their CBDC is expected to be like 2030 at the earliest. So yeah. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, there's
maybe they're working with Bali. Maybe they're going to start charging people and putting people in jail for paying for taxi cabs.
Yeah, using a cab.
Yeah, they need more people in their institutions.
I mean, it's really easy for me to say, sitting on the sidelines, armchair quarterback in this whole thing, obviously. So take what I'm about to say with a bit of a grain of salt, I think.
We always have to. I heavily salt all
Jamie comments. But I mean, if you look at some of the jurisdictions that have kind of stepped into the regulation sphere, but done so in a way that has not really stifled innovation, but rather encouraged it, their initial regulatory rules were very broad and fairly high level and weren't trying to cover every edge case. They were just trying to create some baseline. And then slowly over time, as we learn more, we make that baseline more and more focused based on our experience. The places, Australia, the United States, that are trying to come up with the perfect bill to deal with this stuff, and then to mix match it in with a whole bunch of other bills and all this other nonsense, which is how our political systems work. It just doesn't make sense. It's constant committees and constant discussions and constant feedback, and no one can ever make a freaking decision because no one ever agrees on 10 million parameters. Anyways, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but I think this is an example of what won't work long term, and that is trying to get the perfect bill on the first try. I think you have to get, like, what are the minimum acceptable standards? Let's first put those in place so that at least
you
we
want
can
them to
start.
use business theory for the government?
Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk?
Whoa,
Anyways,
whoa.
So,
Calm right down.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of this, to be honest. I was a big fan of Australia's commitment to moving forward early, but ever since then, I think they're falling into the same problem that we have in the US.
Sure. All right, that was our flight was delayed. Are you ready to go to Latam?
Latam, let's do it.
We're gonna stay in the warm today because it's
I like warm.
So El Salvador, which everyone knows loves Bitcoin, has unleashed Lava Pool, which is their first local mining pool. The initial phase, they're going to build a renewable energy park, which will have 241 megawatts of renewable energy split between wind and solar.
That's then going to fund their Bitcoin mining.
Yes. Well, power their Bitcoin mining.
Power their Bitcoin mining. Yeah. I struggle with renewables because of the cost of renewables. So, as an example, in Alberta, which is where you live, where I used to live, the windmills.
Oh my God,
they put up these windmills. There's so many of them. They put them up everywhere. They're heavily subsidized by the government, like very heavily subsidized. And even then, it takes 20 to 25 years to hit profit.
Yeah.
That's
I'm a little bit anti-solar, which is like as a leftist is controversial.
I love the idea of renewables. I think absolutely as a society, of course we should get there, but it's not functional yet. The tech isn't ready.
The windmills also, aside from the tech, if you're an ego person, the windmills pardon me.
They kill a lot of birds.
Oh, they do kill the birds, but they also destroy migratory patterns for ungulates and other smaller mammals. And they have done a number of studies that show if you live within a certain distance, I don't remember the fact offhand, but if you live within a certain distance, it actually can impact children's developmental hearing.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Because you have this like constant pulsing pressure, and so your ears become accustomed to that, and then they stop recognizing it, and then children like walk into traffic more.
What? That's so strange.
So weird.
Well,
anyway,
if you're in an argument against green energy.
Yeah, just ask us. Apparently,
making the kids walk into traffic. Anyways, okay. So they're doing this.
Anyway, how do you feel about the Bitcoin part, though? Since we are supposed to be crypto news and not JD and Kara fight inefficient renewables.
I mean, maybe that's another podcast idea. I'm sure we've got a lot to say about that. Yeah, like I don't mind this. I think Bitcoin mining at scale and with appropriate input prices makes sense. And so if you have renewables and somehow it's cost effective enough, like even if the government paid for them in the first place, like the money came from somewhere. There's still a cost of borrowing. There's still whatever. Assuming that they can find a way to make it work economically, I think this is great. It's a good way to give the average person the opportunity to participate in mining and contribute to economies of scale. I don't know the economics of this, but generally speaking, it can be a good business model. So we'll see. I don't mind it. And also,
I'm really excited about this next
Bitcoin. So
yeah. I'm really excited about this next one. So Buenos Aires and Brazil generally is integrating blockchain technology into their digital identities and into their regular identities. So now your birth certificate, your national civil identity card, all that kind of thing will be on chain. I really love this. Utah actually did it with marriage certificates a few years ago now. I like seeing this integration. I think it's a good example of utility. It's a great scale out for blockchain, and it moves us away from that concept of like blockchain is crypto, right?
Yeah, this to me is what got me excited about the space in 2016, was seeing
Exactly.
applications that are completely decoupled from speculation or, you know, the market dynamics that we currently see with many crypto assets. What I got excited about was seeing real world applications of the technology and how it really makes things better in a lot of ways for society and for people's day-to-day lives. And this is an example of where the technology really stands to make an impact globally. I think within a decade, we'll see almost all identification be managed this way.
Absolutely.
And so this I think is amazing. I'm more excited about this type of thing than anything else, I think. So this is wicked.
Well,
hopefully
this type of thing coming out. Oh, for sure. I think it's really cool. This type of thing coming out is probably why Latam and the Caribbean are not really being impacted by the bear market in the same way as everyone else.
Not the crypto
because their governments are embracing blockchain technology as opposed to, you know, stifling all innovation possible. So according to a number of different studies, but including one by the University of Cambridge and the Inter-American Development Bank, Latam and Caribbean are probably the largest growers for blockchain, not just crypto, but from 2020 to 2022.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The emerging markets are who stand to benefit the most immediately from this type of technology and access to new financial products and self-sovereignty over resources and banking the unbanked and all of this other stuff, hyperinflation and, you know, tyrannical type governments in a lot of these jurisdictions. Like there's a lot of reasons that would make emerging markets much better candidates to adopt this technology. It makes a ton of sense for Western jurisdictions also, in my opinion. But the very, very palpable difference and benefit is for a lot of emerging markets. So I'm not surprised that this is the case, but we should take a page out of their book and say, hey, we're going to lose our opportunity to be a world leader if the emerging markets get onto this first. So hopefully we get our shit together.
That's a half hour of news. I might carry Africa.
I can't believe we filled all. Oh, we didn't get it all.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
No, we didn't do it all. I might carry Africa over to tomorrow, not because I would say FU to Africa, but more so to the media that's surrounding it. People are only now starting to take note of the cash shortages in Nigeria that happened, a whole year ago now. People are only starting to take note of a number of those types of initiatives that are happening, of who's picking up on blockchain. And yeah, maybe we continue with Africa tomorrow, unless you really hate Gary Gensler tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sure I'll have a reason to FU Gary Gensler, because it wouldn't be FU Friday without such an experience.
Well, I have a special surprise for you tomorrow then with Gary.
A special surprise?
I know. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. I wasn't even supposed to be here tomorrow, but I will be now.
So. Oh, you're right.
I will be. All right. Well, just a quick reminder, we are a live show Monday to Friday. We just got rugged on Spaces, which is impeccable timing, Tweeter. At least they waited till the end of the episode today. So we're a live show Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Like, share, subscribe. Help us get the word out. And today with that, I say to you, Kiara, go FUD yourself.
Go FUD yourself.
Bye.